Super Smash Bros., one of, if not the strongest Nintendo exclusive franchise, just saw the release last week of the first of two new entries in the series, Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS, which also marks the series' debut on a portable system, a platform that historically hasn't been the best choice for fighting games. So the questions are these. What does this one do differently from past entries? What game modes does it have to offer? And probably the one question on most people's minds for this particular version, how does it handle on a portable system? And these are the main questions I'm going to weigh in on today's review. So first off, how does this one handle compared to previous entries in the series? Well, the stated goal of Super Smash Bros. 4 is to be a balance between the series' last two entries. The competitive crowds favored Melee, which featured faster combat, more advanced techniques, and much faster falls, leading to a lot more fast deaths, and the more casual-friendly Super Smash Bros. Brawl, which just featured an overall much floatier and slower game, making recoveries a lot easier. So this one's meant to be faster than Brawl, but not quite as fast as Melee. Now, another noticeable design decision in this one is that this generation features a big decrease in random effects. The trip mechanic introduced in Brawl has been removed, meaning that you'll never fall down for no reason, though the effect has been partially brought back through items or some character moves that cause it. Several characters have had some of their versatility and random effects simplified as well, examples being dual form characters like Zelda and Sheik having been split into their own singular options, and the order in which Olimar summons Pikmins is now set rather than randomly generated. So while it's not as fast as Melee, it does look as though the direction for this game was trying to make a more competitive-friendly environment by creating a better sense of consistency and balance across all characters, although I do think that it wasn't really necessary to split up the dual types. Now, stages this time around consist of returning favorites and new ones, with most of the new ones now featuring pretty interesting minigame mechanics, such as boss enemies that grant some benefit to the player that kills it, or collectible items that offer a boost once you've gotten so many of them. And the game now also offers the option of a Omega mode during stage selection, which effectively turns every stage into the simple, super flat plane that is Final Destination. Now, other little changes and additions that are really appreciated in this version as well include an increase in the number of costumes or palette options per character, now reaching 8. And in some cases, these are completely different character models, such as switching between genders, or Bowser Jr. featuring each Koopaling as an alternate costume. Not only that, but the game even remembers what palette option you last picked, making that the default the next time you choose that character, which admittedly is a minute detail, but it's a pretty nice one to have. Now, new characters added in this one for the most part feature interesting new little shticks and gimmicks to help them stand out, though some of the new and returning character clones do feel a little bit tedious, such as Lucina being a near carbon copy of Marth, whose only mechanical difference is the damage distribution across her blade, otherwise featuring the same stats. Or Dark Pit, who does handle differently, but feels like an awkward decision considering how easily he could have just been a palette swap. Now, those grievances aside, the rest of the cast is still pretty interesting, and this is the largest Super Smash Bros. Cast, numbering at 51 if you include the 3 different customizable Mii characters, which brings us to one of the most interesting new mechanics in this game, customizable movesets. While Mii fighters can be customized with one of 3 different specials for each move slot, the other 48 characters all feature changeable specials as well. In some cases, like Mega Man and Palutena, these are radically different moves, while in most cases, they're simply interesting retweaked versions that feature things like higher damage with lower startup, or different execution properties like how the character moves. Characters can also have their stats altered using equipable items, making them faster, stronger, or more defensive, but at the expense of other stats, or adding some other kind of special benefit or drawback. Now, this is where we come to the one big complaint I have about this game, which is the fact that these custom moves, which are honestly my favorite new mechanic, are locked behind random drops. You don't start with any of them unlocked right away. Instead, you have to spend time grinding away at all the game's different modes, and there's some additional problems with this as well. First off, not only is finding these items a matter of luck, but they're actually grouped into the same category as Mii outfits and those stat-changing items, so you're not even guaranteed to specifically get a custom move. And not only that, but it's even possible to get multiple copies of the same move, making those new copies useless. And while the character you're playing does have a higher chance of getting moves that are relevant to them, it's not even 100% that you will, and instead, you might just get moves for characters that you never use. The stat-changing items and Mii appearance options I can totally understand as having be random discoveries, but locking such an interesting side system behind something you have to grind endlessly for just really ruins some of the buzz for this game. Now, speaking of the modes that you can grind out in, of course the game offers its traditional Smash mode that can be played solo against the computer, in a local group of friends, or online in pre-designed match types split between the more item-focused and casual style for fun, and the more competitive items off mode for glory. Connectivity-wise, how smooth matches go seems to be entirely based on the internet connection your opponents are using. I've found that on average, 1v1 matches consistently offer way smoother games due to less players having the chance of ruining it for the rest. As for playing games locally, I've rarely experienced any issues. The game might occasionally pause or freak out for a moment, but it's rare enough to never really ruin the experience. Now, other modes include numerous little mini-games like the classic Home Run Bat Challenge and Multiman Melees, or a Street Pass minigame using little bumpers. For single player, we've got 2 returning classics in the form of All-Star, pitting you against all the game's roster back-to-back, and Classic, which has you take over 6 stages of enemies, including an end boss and a slots minigame for unlocking trophies and customization items, as well as a training mode to practice different characters' moves, combos, and using items. Last, though, is the newest mode, and one that is unique to the 3DS version, Smash Run. Smash Run can be played by yourself with computer enemies or in a local group of friends. Players travel throughout one huge stage, beating up enemies to collect stat upgrades and power-ups, as well as try to tackle special challenges to get a little extra boost. Once time runs out, all combatants are brought together to a final stage, which may just be a simple game of Smash, but sometimes might offer an alternative challenge that favors a specific stat, such as a foot race or tower climbing challenge. Now, the mode is pretty fun to try out and is a good way to grind out trophies and custom items, and there might be some groups out there that really find it to be a fun way to play casual multiplayer, but in my personal experience, any game with local friends is always going to boil right back down to traditional Smash. Now, all these different modes and new additions aside, the fact of the matter is that this game is a new Smash game, which is reason enough alone for a lot of die-hard fans to want to pick this title up. But the one question a lot of people are having for this particular version is how it handles on a portable system. Well, first off, I'd like to praise the team's design choices for this particular version, because a lot of thought clearly went into making this one being portable. It's clearly lacking any large stages, not because they don't think they're fun, but because playing on one of them on such a small screen would just get horrifying if everyone's spread out. So all the stages here range from being either very small or medium in size. Also, the game has this great little feature of a training room where you'll wait for multiplayer matches to begin. Since you don't all share one screen, rather than having to wait for everyone else to make their choices to move on, you can kill a little time waiting by practicing moves on a training dummy and to warm up, which is a feature I absolutely love. Now, all that being said though, I do have to admit that there are some problems with this game being on the 3DS, not because of the game itself, but because of the platform it's on. The 3DS's slide pad is just not optimal for precise controls, and while you can get used to it and still perform pretty well, there's always going to be those moments that moves aren't executed the way you'd like because you didn't move the slide pad just right. It's just not the same as a traditional stick. Not to mention the numerous reports of people breaking their slide pads, though I have gone quite a few weeks playing this version and the demo without incident, so that might just come down to how rough of a player you are. The other issue is just how comfortable your hands are while playing for extended periods of time. On the 2DS, I've been able to play for a whole day and experience only mild discomfort by the end, but a regular 3DS leads to Arthritis City after just a couple of hours. So is this the best version of Smash to prove your competitive chops in? Well, that's up for debate considering the slide pad. But as for the game itself, it's still pretty damn awesome, and aside from that one complaint I had about unlocking custom items, I have loved just about every moment with this game this past week. Having the ability to just play Smash on the go and easily set up local multiplayer games anywhere is fantastic. If you're a fan of playing 4-player games, I do recommend seeing if you have any friends grabbing it first, because online does get a bit spotty with big groups, but if you're the kind just looking for 2-player games, then this will handle great both locally and online. Now, if you're the super serious type that needs to have the most precise version of the game, then just go ahead and wait for it on Wii U, because if this is a sign of things to come, that version will be just as enjoyable without the worries over how the slide pad will affect your performance. Me personally, I just like to have fun with friends, and the slide pad in my opinion is forgivable provided that's all you're aiming to do. Well, that was my review of Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS. If you're interested in grabbing the game, I do have that linked down below as well as my Twitter profile. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to let me know by hitting that thumbs up button and subscribing if you haven't yet, so you can stay up to date on all the reviews I'll be bringing you in the future. Until then though guys, I'm Kevin Kenson, and I'll see you later.